we were today the topic was coffee and whichever direction the person chooses. So I chose to see what are the effects of coffee on health particularly. And just that, my whole presentation will be dealing with all of the effects of coffee that have been observed through medical research on health. So going ahead, the content would be, I would be giving some facts and some numbers relating to what was observed in randomized trials of cohorts of patients, not patients as in subjects. So we will be seeing effects of coffee on cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular health, as well as depression, then its effects on neurological diseases such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Going ahead, so exactly what is there in coffee that causes that have all these wonderful effects? Coffee is rich in caffeine, as you all know. It has B2, which is riboflavin. It has magnesium. It has lots of plant chemicals which are called polyphenols, which includes chlorogenic acid and quinic acid. It also has diterpenes, depending on whether the coffee is filtered or not. Diterpenes include cafestol and caviol. Caffeine, if we understand, caffeine is a central nervous system stimulant. It is the world's most widely consumed psychoactive drug. So it's a drug, but it is completely unregulated nearly in all parts of the world. How it works is it blocks the receptors from attaching to adenosine. So adenosine causes drowsiness. So when it blocks that, it stops drowsiness. So that is how it activates our brain. Coming to polyphenols found in coffee. So polyphenols are large structural units which have phenol as its structural unit. So if you see the structure, it is somewhat of this sort. On the right hand side, the image you can see lots of phenol structures which are joined together. They form they form a common chemical that is found in naturally occurring substances. So plant-based foods contain large levels of polyphenols. Chlorogenic acid is also a polyphenol, and it is found in coffee. And initial results have found that chlorogenic acid helps in lowering blood pressure and several other benefits. Coming to what are the effects on cancer, it has been found that coffee stimulates the production of bile acids in the liver, and because of inferring from that, it also speeds digestion through colon. So what happens because of that? It reduces the contact of carcinogenic compounds in the food with the colon tissue. So when the digestion is faster, so the contact of any carcinogenic compound that may be found in the food we eat might be reduced. So that's how colon cancer risk might be reduced. So it is not completely conclusive. This is how they are explaining, probably, because initial studies have shown that risk of cancer in coffee drinkers is comparatively less than non-coffee drinkers. So it is just an association. It's not conclusive yet. But there's another thing. Polyphenols in the coffee prevent cancer cell growth, which has been observed in several animal studies. So not in humans still. As in, studies are going on, but conclusion has not yet been seen. Again, polyphenols reduce estrogen levels. Estrogen is linked to several types of cancer. Coffee has also been shown to lower inflammation. Inflammation is a major risk factor in many cancers. Okay, coming to acrylamide. Acrylamide is a chemical which is carcinogenic, and it is formed in coffee during roasting. When the coffee beans are roasted before coffee is powdered, so during that time this chemical forms, and we can also see acrylamide's presence in lots of fried food items such as French fries, cookies, potato chips, in several starchy foods. So main thing we have to understand here is acrylamide is carcinogenic in sufficient amounts. When they have studied in animals, so the amount they use for experimenting on animals is incomparable to the amounts present in human food. So that's why experts have argued time and time again that due to the presence of acrylamide, coffee does not become carcinogenic. It is the amount is incomparable to how much amount would be required to induce cancer risk. And American Institute of Cancer Research, what it reviewed all the large body of research of coffee on cancer, and then it concluded that endometrial and liver cancer's risk is reduced in coffee drinkers. Endometrial, as you all know, it is the lining of the uterus. Coming to the effect of coffee on diabetes, long-term studies have shown that coffee drinkers have a lower risk. So what happens is the insulin's effectiveness in the body is increased in the presence of magnesium and other polyphenols, and the polyphenols particularly present in coffee. Now coming to the research, then there was a study conducted of a very large time period, 20 years, in that they have seen that there is an incremental benefit for every cup of coffee consumed, as in per day. So for a person who drinks one extra cup a day compared to a person who drinks one less cup a day, the person who drinks 1 cup more a day has 8% lower risk of type 2 diabetes, and it saturates at 6 cups a day, 33% lower risk than a person who drinks who does not drink coffee. So, and another thing that has been observed is caffeinated coffee has a slightly more benefit than decaffeinated coffee, but does not mean that decaffeinated coffee does not have any effect on type 2 diabetes. It does. The actual attributed chemical is the polyphenol and the other chemicals found in coffee, not just caffeine. Yes.
Ashok, yeah. ये कॉफी कैफिनेटेड कॉफी और डीकैफिनेटेड कॉफी में क्या डिफरेंस होता है? मतलब ऑब्वियसली नेचुरली कॉफी तो कैफिनेटेड ही है ना?
हाँ, तो वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में डीकैफिनेटेड कॉफी भी बिकता है, उसमें जो कैफीन कंटेंट होता है कॉफी में वो निकाल देता है कुछ फिल्ट्रेशन प्रोसेसेस से।
ओके।
तो बहुत वो एक नेगेटिव भी है ना, बहुत सेंसिटिव जो लोग होते हैं उनका जो कैफीन का इम्पैक्ट होता है वो नहीं चाहिए उनको, लेकिन कॉफी पीना है, तो वो उनका मार्केट ज्यादा है वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में, तो उनके लिए ये प्रिपेयर किया जाता है और ये बिका जाता है। तो कॉफी होता है, कैफीन निकल जाता है, तो यू डोंट हैव ऑल दी अदर थिंग्स जैसे एंजाइटी इंक्रीज एंड स्लीप पे इफेक्ट, वो सब कम हो जाता है डीकैफिनेटेड में।
ठीक है।
Okay. Further analysis has shown that incidence of diabetes reduced by 12% for every 2 cups of extra coffee. So, now coming to caffeine, like you asked, in an average cup, 95 milligrams of caffeine is there, or in an average black coffee cup. So if it is an instant coffee, then the amount of caffeine is lesser. So a normal average cup is that the drip coffee, which I'm talking about. So for every 200 milligrams of increase of caffeine a day increase, the risk of diabetes reduces by 14%. Okay, coming to the effect of coffee on heart health. Normal coffee, when it is extracted from the coffee beans, when the coffee beans are roasted and then powdered for coffee, not for instant, but just for filter coffee, they have diterpenes. Diterpenes are known to raise bad cholesterol level, LDL, and triglycerides. So, but if you are having filtered or instant coffee, you don't almost no diterpenes exist in that. But in some coffees, such as Turkish coffee or French press coffee, where coffee is not filtered, there diterpenes do exist. So they might increase bad cholesterol level and triglycerides that may have a bad impact on your heart health, cardiovascular health. However, lots of studies have shown time and again that there is an association of coffee drinking with lower risk of heart disease and stroke. So if you see, moderate coffee intake is optimum. Up to 15% risk of cardiovascular disease is reduced. After 3 to 5 cups, more heavier consumption did not increase or reduce risk of heart disease. So for heart health, the optimum intake should be 3 to 5 cups. Coming to the effect of coffee on depression, see, coffee has different effects on different people. Normally, coffee reduces anxiety, it increases alertness and attention, and it improves mood. But in several cases, not the majority, but in several cases, it has also been shown that it increases anxiety, restlessness, and insomnia for some sensitive persons, depending on their physical state. If some person is more sensitive to caffeine, it increases anxiety, restlessness, and insomnia. So, but in majority, it does the opposite. So, moderate caffeine intake has association with lower risk of depression and suicide. So, they have done studies on a large cohort of patients, and they have seen this. So, coming to the actual numbers, this has been taken from research. 24% reduced risk of depression in 4.5 cups a day on an average, compared to less than 1 cup a day. So, coming to risk of suicide, 45% less risk of suicide if the person is drinking 2 to 3 cups a day. And if the person is drinking more than 4 cups a day, then he or she has 54% less risk of suicide. Coming to the effects on neurological diseases, Parkinson's disease also has lower risk in coffee drinkers. Parkinson's disease is caused by low levels of dopamine in the body. So coffee protects the parts of the brain that produce dopamine. Yeah, again, 58% lower risk of PD in heavy coffee drinkers. And if you come to Alzheimer's disease, it is also lower in coffee drinkers. Conclusively, it has been shown that in large sample size studies that conclusive results are lacking in this for Alzheimer's disease particularly. Large sample size studies have not been conducted yet. They are in progress. Conclusive evidence has not surfaced yet. Initial findings have shown, however, that positive association exists, lower risk of Alzheimer's disease in increased caffeine intake. More further benefits are coffee reduces risk of creation of gallstones in gallbladder. Mortality risk also. They have conducted over a period of 30 years. They have tracked 2 lakh people, and they have seen clearly that early death risk is less in coffee drinkers. And this includes both caffeinated and decaffeinated coffee. So finally, just it is being seen that whatever there are the health benefits in coffee, it is not just because it has caffeine. It is more because of the polyphenols and the other plant nutrients that are contained in coffee. So it is not just the caffeine. So concluding the presentation, 3 to 5 cups to high amounts reduces risk of several disease conditions. So this is suggested. Pregnant women should not drink more than 2 cups a day, because what happens is caffeine directly passes through the placenta and it has been associated with pregnancy loss and low birth weight. So it is risky for pregnant women to consume. Other than that, it is fine. However, if someone is not a coffee drinker and suddenly he wants to start because of all these health benefits, it might not work, because it has been studied for regular coffee drinkers with no coffee drinkers. So maybe someone who is not a coffee drinker, he might be more sensitive to caffeine and he might be prone to the negative effects of coffee also. We don't know. So it might so happen that someone who has not been drinking coffee and suddenly starts drinking a lot of coffee, he might have bad psychological effects. Because finally you see caffeine is a psychoactive drug anyway. However, if you have creamy, full of milk coffee, it might offset the health benefits of drinking normal black coffee, because the coffee that is being drunk in India, which is filled with milk, sugar, saturated fat, that has other bad, they are all negatively correlated with heart disease and all. So yes, drinking black coffee is obviously better than a normal milk based coffee. Final words, drink coffee and stay happy. Yeah, I want to attribute to whatever I have taken the research and research studies results and the health benefits I have taken from the Harvard School of Public Health webpage, completely from there only. So just images I've taken from other sources, but most of the content I've taken from Harvard School of Public Health webpage. Thank you. You have been a good audience.